Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this next session of the HEA's lunchtime series of Hydrogen Bytes. This is our public webinar series that is offered to members, and it's an opportunity for our members to showcase the breadth of activity that is happening right across the hydrogen value chain. The HEA is the most diverse and largest trade association in the UK for hydrogen, representing the whole value chain, right from emerging startups coming out of universities or in other innovation spaces to SMEs and multinationals that have been working in the sector for many years or are pioneering in the space. So today we are joined with Tony Perkins, who's the Chief Engineer of Propulsion at UTAC. He's going to give an overview of UTAC and their capabilities at Millbrook today. So very happy to have Tony with us. So without further ado, over to you, Tony. I'll stop sharing my screen and you can share yours.
Okay. So hopefully you can see that now.
Yeah, we can see it, Tony.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so hello everyone. Thanks, Olivia, for the introduction, and also to the HEA for the great opportunity to speak to you all today about UTAC. So the flow of my presentation will be about, firstly, who we are and the type of things that we do. And then I'm going to move on to what we're currently doing with hydrogen in the development of hydrogen vehicles. And then finally, I plan to share a view of what the future holds for hydrogen vehicles and UTAC's commitment to support the hydrogen value chain. So, yeah, first of all, who's UTAC? So it's a tale of two businesses, really, both well established, seeing growth through a mixture of organic growth, acquisition and mergers over the years. UTAC's story actually started over 100 years ago in France with the construction of the Montlhéry Proving Grounds just south of Paris. And separately, about 50 years ago in the UK, and perhaps more familiar to some of you online, Millbrook Proving Ground was built in 1970. These two companies then merged in 2021 to create a sort of truly global organisation that supports the automotive industry, and it's continued to grow since then. Our worldwide presence, we have 13 sites across the world, including 6 proving grounds. We operate in test sites in the US, Europe, and Africa as well. And we have offices in China, Korea, and Japan. In total, this equates to around 250 kilometres of vehicle test tracks and 30 laboratories. And they're all operated by 1,300 people worldwide. We take a closer look to home in the UK. We employ about 500 people. Millbrook Proving Ground is located in Bedfordshire, and we have the Leyland test facility as well in Lancashire. And combined, these test facilities are offering everything from component and subsystem testing to whole vehicle validation, covering the car, bus, truck, and highway markets. So to explain a little bit more about what we do and who we are, our customer base is really quite broad. We work with vehicle manufacturers across the spectrum, from L category vehicles, 2 and 3 wheelers, all the way up to heavy goods vehicles and non-road machinery. We work with tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers as well, and the petrochemical industry. And we also support areas of security and defence services and government departments working in transport and mobility. And our services are equally as broad as well. we have expertise in vehicle regulations, both to help industry navigate current requirements, but also to support the regulators update and create new regulations as well. We're a technical service in a number of countries and provide a route to vehicle homologation and certification in different regions. But testing is a significant part of what we do, whether it's traditional vehicle test or validation, or developing new capabilities. A particular growth area for us at the moment is in connected autonomous mobility, vehicle simulation, and cyber security. If we move on to hydrogen, I'd like to just give you an understanding of what we've done so far. And today I'll focus on what we do in the UK. And at Millbrook, our four-wheel drive heavy-duty rolling road facility at Millbrook is a great example. It can simulate inertias of up to 60 tonnes and can replicate real-world driving in a controlled environment, providing highly repeatable test results that you can't get by driving a vehicle on the road. It's housed in a climatic chamber as well, meaning that you can test at temperatures from -20 to +50 degrees C. And the facility has already been used for a broad range of hydrogen vehicles, including buses and trucks. But its flexibility has meant that we've been able to accommodate some large hydrogen off-road machinery as well. And in support of this, we've also invested in a number of workshops, vehicle workshops, to make them safe to house hydrogen vehicles. And we have a 350 bar hydrogen station on site to support vehicle refueling. If we look more broadly speaking, we have many existing capabilities and services at Millbrook and within the group that are suitable to support hydrogen, sort of agnostic facilities that aren't fuel dependent. And the proving ground at Millbrook is a good example of this, with over 70 kilometres of test tracks spread across 700-acre sites. And here's some examples of the track facilities we have. And we can replicate almost limitless driving scenarios, from the high-speed circuit to simulate motorway use, to the city course, where we can do a lot of stop-start driving. We've got complex tracks such as hill routes and cross-country off-road, which provide challenging combinations of gradients and bends and vehicle dynamics. And we have specialist tracks for extreme use cases, such as a 45-degree one-in-one hill, and abuse areas as well, including potholes and curb strikes to replicate real-world driving. Away from Millbrook, some of our other proving grounds around the world are in cold and hot climates. Our winter proving ground in Finland is the most northerly proving ground in the world, and so has the advantage of a longer outdoor season than others. And it has an indoor facility as well to allow winter testing of vehicles all year round, when they bring the snow inside before it melts. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see Wedzem. That's our hot climate proving ground. It's the newest proving ground in the group, constructed only 3 years ago. It's about 150 kilometers from Casablanca, and it sits on the edge of the Mid-Atlas Mountains. So I hope that gives you a flavour of what you can do and what you can replicate, and the driving options that come with vehicle development. If we look more broadly, we also have our vehicle engineering team based in the UK, who can build low volume production vehicles. They've got a diverse portfolio of completed projects that range from repowering diesel buses with electric powertrains to building civilian armoured cars, over 800 now in total. They've got expertise in 3D modelling and rapid prototyping, and they also specialise in chassis engineering, making use of the track facilities to optimize dynamic performance and ride and handling of vehicles as they're adapted. I'm sure some of you have seen the work of our events department. The team manage numerous events every year, large scale ones like Cenex Expo and the military DVD showcase, and each of those can see thousands of visitors each day. But the team are equally as experienced to help smaller events and to help deliver product launches and smaller stakeholder engagement events as well. And complementary to the events department, we can make areas the proving ground, workshops and offices available to rent. And we have recognised that this is an area that we can support small businesses. So this year we've created our incubator program, that's been designed to provide tailored support to small businesses so they can easily access our services within a manageable fixed monthly fee, whether it's for short-term use of a workshop or longer-term office space. We've seen some good successes so far. We hope that this will help to build an innovation ecosystem at Millbrook. And if this is interesting to you, then please do get in touch with us. So that's what we've done so far to support the hydrogen value chain. But what's next for UTAC and hydrogen? So at the moment, demand for our services from hydrogen customers is quite low, and to be honest, this makes it hard for us to justify large investments in the area. But we do remain committed to doing that, and we see signs, and when we see signs of the market maturing in the future, we will invest. And this slide here, I just wanted to give you a great example of what we've done on the growth side for electric vehicles. 10 years ago, very few of these facilities existed, but when the time was right, we committed to spend over £25 million on new facilities to test vehicle batteries, electric motors and axles. And we are now also 17025 accredited for R100 safety tests, and we can support certification of electric vehicles in many regions across the world. And let's hope we can replicate this as well for hydrogen. So what is the market outlook for hydrogen? I've just put here together a summary of various reports and market forecasts from UK and European organisations, and I just make some sort of general summaries of each vehicle sector, starting with passenger cars. I mean, they're anticipated to be almost entirely battery electric by 2050. And if we look at light commercial vehicles as well, hydrogen is thought to play a small role as well, with battery electric expected to dominate lighter duty applications, but perhaps up to 8% of the light commercial vehicle by 2035 could be powered by hydrogen. But when we start looking at heavier vehicles, there is a change. And if we look at trucks operating regionally, this segment is very broad and has very broad use cases. Consequently, looking at the various market outlooks, there isn't clear consensus for hydrogen, but some reports do predict that hydrogen could power 10 to 25% of regional trucks by 2040. But interestingly, when we look at long-haul trucks, buses and coaches, there is a very strong agreement from industry and market watchers that hydrogen has its place. And the vehicle market for hydrogen heavy duty long haul trucks is predicted to be up to 25% of the UK market by 2035. And then finally, if we look at off highway and non-road machinery, which is the hardest market in this area to decarbonise, I think hydrogen is being seen as the most promising solution here, especially for heavy duty or remote applications where battery electric won't work. A number of stakeholders are also looking at hydrogen combustion as a viable technology as well. So as a conclusion or an overview summary of the market outlook, we can say that although hydrogen's role is going to vary across the segments, there is broad agreement that it has a great potential to decarbonise transport, and especially in the vehicle heavy duty sort of categories as well. But it's not just about the hydrogen vehicles, it's about the potential size of the infrastructure that's going to support it as well. And the pace of the hydrogen adoption will depend not only in the advances in vehicle technology, but on how quickly the infrastructure can scale to meet demand. Infrastructure projects require long-term planning, and I think this is a strong indicator to industry especially about the direction of travel. And if we look at Europe in particular, at the moment, it's fair to say that the number of refueling stations is low, but there is a plan being built to build a core network of refueling stations by 2030 through the HEA regulations. And the plan says that there should be refueling stations every 200 kilometres along the European core road network. So this is a positive sign as well that preparations are underway for the adoption of hydrogen vehicles. So I'd just like to summarise then and close by saying the hydrogen market is still emerging, but momentum I think is building. At the moment there is low demand for our test services, and this is resulting in a cautious approach for further investment at the moment. However, there are opportunities out there to support innovators and build partnerships. And I'd just like to close by saying that we invite collaboration with the hydrogen value chain. So please reach out to us and learn more and see how we can help you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tony. That was a very comprehensive overview of not only your UTAC's capabilities in hydrogen, but across different sectors across the globe. And also really helpful to understand your balanced perspective on the role of hydrogen in transport, and but also kind of making space to reflect and talk about the challenges as well. So thank you very much, Tony, for that great presentation. I think there are a couple of questions in the chat coming through. So we'll start with those, and then I think there's probably a couple from the HEA team as well. So Richard Penn has just asked in the Q&A function, for hydrogen use on site at UTAC in the UK, do you produce your hydrogen on site or do you buy it in? Thank you.
We buy it in. Yeah, we buy it in at the moment, and we buy it in depending on the demand we have. So we've been using single cylinder MCP type arrangements, and also tube trailers as well for the higher demand cases.
Thanks, Tony. There's another question here that asks what maximum costs for hydrogen per kilogram will be accepted to be competitive to other technologies like battery electric vehicles or HVO or e-diesel?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I mean, hydrogen prices are very high. And I think, when you're developing vehicles and you've got new technologies and the supply side is quite low, then people have to cover their costs, and hydrogen prices are very high. That's got to be said. I mean, we've got to get down below the £10 per kilo soon, I would say, and in the long term, you know, we need to be below £8.54 per kilo really to make hydrogen competitive and work really with, you know, TCO models for the end user.
Thank you, Tony. There is another question here from John Horsley, who is asking whether there's been any interest in terms of liquid hydrogen for trucks and buses, on the development for trucks and buses for back-to-base vehicles and routes.
Yeah, I've not heard anything about liquid hydrogen in heavy-duty applications for trucks. But that said, I mean, it comes to a range and packaging question, really. And I think if we look back a few years ago, I think we thought that trucks would be 350 bar pressures, or the tanks would be 350 bar. But, you know, we're now looking at packaging of 700 bar tanks for trucks to give them the range. And I know some people are researching 1,000 bar as well. So, you know, liquid hydrogen would certainly help with that packaging and range question. But I've not heard anyone in particular looking at that at the moment.
Thank you. There are quite a few questions coming in, so just skip through them. Rob Lee asked, do you see more demand for hydrogen trailers and MEGC filling capabilities across Europe?
Could you repeat that again, Olivia?
Yeah, of course. Have you seen more demand for hydrogen trailers and MEGCs filling capabilities across Europe? So what's kind of been the uptake in the UK versus Europe?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, from a proving ground perspective and a UTAC perspective, we've seen more requirements for hydrogen testing, vehicle testing, than we have done in our sort of European test facilities and proving grounds. But then if we look at the infrastructure point that I raised earlier, you know, there is a plan for hydrogen in Europe, in terms of, you know, that some of the bigger manufacturers in Europe for trucks are really looking at this and doing trials. There's the arterial route plan for infrastructure, but then you look at the UK and there isn't the same plan in place. You know, the number of refueling stations in the UK is very, very limited. So I think they go hand in hand, and I see that Europe will accelerate quite quickly, I think, in quite a short space of time.
Thanks, Tony. It's always helpful to have that comparative view. Another question had just come in terms of whether you think that hydrogen combustion will be mainstream. I know you mentioned in the off-road applications, but perhaps a broader view on the other transport applications. Or do you think fuel cell electric vehicles will be dominant? I'll pause there and then I go to the second aspect of that question.
Okay. I mean, I think if you want my personal view, I think hydrogen combustion has got its place in a lot of vehicle sectors. It can decarbonise to 99% of where it is at the moment. For off-highway, I think it's seen as being really useful when there's no infrastructure in place for, you know, electrically, I would say. But I think it goes down to policy and regulation as well. You know, at the moment, for passenger cars and I think for trucks as well, you know, the ban on combustion engines prevents people developing the technology further. I think if there was more of an agnostic approach to decarbonisation, then hydrogen combustion could well be a viable technology.
Thanks for that, Tony. I definitely think that's something that the HEA advocate for, not only in the transport space, but also kind of in the low carbon hydrogen production space as well. I think the theme of being technology agnostic from a policy perspective is the way forward in terms of allowing the technologies to fairly compete. So thank you for sharing that. There is a couple more questions in relation to that first one. How do you manage the need for the purity of hydrogen at 99.9% for fuel cell electric vehicles, or how to manage that? And the second aspect to that question is, can this level only be achieved by liquid hydrogen refueling?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, making sure you get the purity is down to your supplier relationship, understanding the source of where that hydrogen comes from. If it's coming from electrolysis, you know, and it's coming and it's had the molecule tested, then I think you can be quite confident that the hydrogen is pure. You've also got then to consider the contaminants downstream of the production, so when it goes into storage and then the transportation. And I do think that's an area that needs to be looked at in more detail. And anecdotally, I would say that a customer did ask us to get some less pure hydrogen for a research project they were doing, and it was really difficult to get hold of, and actually it was more expensive than getting the green hydrogen or the purest hydrogen as well. So yeah, work needs to be done, I think, to ensure, especially when it comes to warranty and you know, the cars are in production. I hope that covers roughly what the question said.
Yeah, certainly does. Thanks, Tony. There is just a couple of minutes left if there's any other further questions, if you'd like to put them in the chat or in the Q&A. If not, we will round up the session. So I'll just pause to allow people to write if there is any final questions, Tony. I have a question just in the interim, and obviously it's been clear in terms of there's been the difference between Europe and in the UK in terms of just inquiries and uptake of the offer that you have at UTAC. In terms of on a global level, kind of beyond Europe, it'd be helpful if you could share how you see the market evolving in other geographies.
Yeah, I mean, in the East, you know, the Far East, I think in China, you know, and we see what Toyota have done as well with the Mirai and with the pickup truck as well. The adoption of hydrogen is greater, and I think in the US, up until the change in administration, there was real potential behind hydrogen. But at the moment, I think we've seen a bit of a reverse in terms of manufacturers and producers of hydrogen, that all of a sudden they don't feel like they've got the support of the government out there.
Thank you. I think that it shows the important role of policy in supporting the development of hydrogen as it is on its path to maturity. So thanks again, Tony, for that great presentation. I think there was a question in terms of a contact email for the events department at UTAC. So if you wouldn't mind putting that contact in the chat, or you can share with me afterwards, and I can share with the attendees of this session. And also if you wish to share your email address, if people have further questions or want to get in touch to learn more.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I know. Great, thank you. Thanks, Tony. Emma, I know you've appeared, so I don't know whether you want to say
I
some
just
final words.
really, wanted to thank you, Liv, for hosting this session, and for everyone that attended. Just to remind you all, if you did join late, that we will be recording this session and we will be posting that on our website. So watch out for the communications on that, or you want to share that with any of your colleagues who weren't able to join today. And I think one of the main takeaways I have from the great work that's happening at UTAC is the fact that there is a hydrogen fueling facility there. So it's a really important part of the testing and capabilities that we have in the UK, and you know, demonstrates the commitment that UTAC have towards hydrogen. So I think if you take nothing else away from today's session and Tony's great presentations, is that awareness. So when people are looking to develop transport solutions for hydrogen, then clearly this is a resource that we should all be mindful of. So again, thank you, Tony, so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for all for joining. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye bye.